Elias Ward felt the steel hum beneath his palms long before the officer shouted. The evening wind carried the river's damp breath across the newly finished Lexington River Bridge, a structure he had poured 3 years of his life into, a structure that now glowed under orange streetlights like a promise finally kept. He had only stepped out of his truck to take one last quiet look. "Hey, step away from the railing. Don't touch anything you don't own." The voice cut through the dusk like a blade. Elias turned slowly. The officer strode toward him, hand resting on his holster, suspicion already carved into his face. The man didn't know him, didn't care to. The badge gleamed. The judgment was faster than the approaching footsteps. "I'm just checking the expansion joints," Elias said, steady but low. "I'm the—" "You don't get to explain." The officer's flashlight snapped on, a white beam flooding Elias' face. "People like you don't check city property." A nearby couple paused, watching but silent. Cars rolled past without slowing. The river murmured under the bridge Elias had designed, a quiet witness to his humiliation. His throat tightened. He had survived worse, swallowed worse, but the words still landed heavy. "People like you." The officer stepped closer, radio crackling. "State your business before I detain you." Elias inhaled, pulse pounding. This bridge was his work. His name stamped into every blueprint. But the officer reached for his cuffs anyway. And Elias knew this moment was about to break open into something far bigger. Elias Ward liked coming to the bridge when the city got quiet, when the sun slid low enough that the river turned to molten copper and the traffic thinned to a gentle hum. It was the only time he could really hear it breathe. Steel had a pulse, at least to him. He'd spent years learning how weight traveled, how wind whispered through tension cables, how concrete expanded like a living body under heat. Tonight, he only wanted to feel the structure settle into its evening rhythm. He stepped out of his old blue pickup, the door creaking softly. The wind from the river brushed against his arms, cool, steady, familiar. He crossed toward the railing, leaning slightly over. "Looks good," he murmured to himself, a small smile forming. "Damn good." He didn't hear the police cruiser pull up. What he heard first was the voice. "Hey, step away from that." Elias stiffened, turning. A white male officer exited the cruiser with heavy steps, posture tight, hand resting near his holster. Elias' stomach dipped, not in fear exactly, but in a weary recognition that tonight might not stay quiet. "I'm just taking a look," Elias said. His voice stayed even, careful. "I work." "I didn't ask," the officer snapped. "Move away from the railing." Elias lifted his hands slightly, palms open. "All right. I'm stepping back." The officer stopped a few feet away, eyes scanning Elias like he was a threat. "What are you doing out here?" "I'm inspecting the expansion joints." Elias kept the explanation simple. Technical vocabulary always seemed to irritate people who were already suspicious. "I'm an engineer." The officer let out a short, mocking laugh. "Right. And I'm the mayor." Elias felt heat rise in his chest. "I can show you my ID." "Show me everything," the officer said. "Wallet. Is any tools you're carrying?" He angled the flashlight at Elias' chest. "People don't just wander around bridges at dusk." "I'm not people. I'm the guy who helped build this thing," Elias said quietly. The officer's expression hardened. "Don't get smart with me." Elias swallowed. There it was, the line he'd crossed without moving an inch. "Name," the officer demanded. "Elias Ward." "Spell it." Elias complied. The flashlight followed every motion of his hands, bright, invasive, unnecessary. "You said you built this bridge?" the officer asked. "I was part of the team, yes." "Part of the team," the officer repeated, like tasting something bitter. "And what exactly were you doing right now?" "I told you, I'm just looking. It's a personal visit." "That's not how this works," the officer said, stepping closer. "You don't get to show up and poke around infrastructure. Not with everything going on these days." Elias frowned. Everything going on. The officer smirked. You know what I mean. No, I don't, Elias said. Explain it. The smirk vanished, replaced by annoyance. Turn around and put your hands on the truck. Elias' heartbeat quickened. For what? I haven't done anything wrong. That's not your call, the officer said. Let's go. A couple walking a dog paused on the sidewalk. Their eyes flicked between Elias and the officer. Concern, curiosity, fear. He couldn't tell. They didn't speak. Elias raised his hands higher. Look, officer, I'm not resisting. I'm cooperating. But this is unnecessary. Is it? The officer said. Because you look nervous to me. I'm nervous because you're approaching me like I'm a criminal. The officer leaned in slightly. If you're innocent, you've got nothing to worry about. Elias almost laughed at the absurdity of it, but the tension choking his chest kept the sound trapped inside. You have ID, the officer pressed. Yes. Elias reached slowly toward his pocket. May I? The officer's hand went to his holster. Slowly. Elias froze for a moment, then resumed at a crawl. He pulled out his wallet, retrieving his engineering ID badge. The officer glanced at it, then scoffed. This could be fake. It's not fake. Elias spoke through clenched teeth. You can call my firm. You can call the city. The officer didn't even look at the phone number printed on the badge. Sit on the curb. Elias blinked. Why? Because I said so. The couple with the dog had drifted farther away, pretending not to look back. Elias exhaled shakily, lowering himself to sit on the cold concrete curb. The officer stood over him, flashlight aimed downward like an interrogation lamp. You live around here? The officer asked. 20 minutes north. How often do you come here? Every few weeks. To inspect the bridge, the officer said, quotation marks heavy in his tone. To clear my head, Elias answered. It's my work. I care about it. The officer snorted. You expect me to believe someone like you built a city bridge? Elias stared at the pavement. The words lodged under his skin, sharp, familiar, exhausting. I expect you to believe the truth, he said quietly. The officer's radio crackled. He spoke into it, giving his location, requesting backup. Elias' breath hitched. Backup? For what? For my safety, the officer said. I don't know what you're capable of. Elias looked up, disbelief etched across his face. I'm sitting on a curb. That's what they all say. Elias swallowed hard. The river's wind carried the faint scent of metal and water. His bridge hummed in the background, steady, unchanged, while his own calm unraveled. A car slowed as it approached the intersection. The driver glanced out the window. Elias thought he recognized her, maybe from a council meeting months ago, but the car kept rolling forward. The officer shifted his stance, impatient, authoritative, certain. Elias sat still, pulse thudding in his ears, as blue lights appeared in the distance. Backup was coming. And he knew the night was about to spiral. Elias had always believed that Steele was easier to deal with than people. Steele didn't second-guess him. Steele didn't underestimate him. Steele didn't look at him and see a threat instead of a professional. But people had done that his entire life. And tonight, Officer Maddox was doing it with practiced ease. Stand up, Maddox ordered as the second patrol cruiser rolled in. Keep your hands where I can see them. Elias rose slowly, feeling the ache in his knees from sitting on the curb. Officer, I told you, this is a misunderstanding. That's what you keep saying, Maddox muttered. We'll see. Two new officers stepped out. One older, broad-shouldered. One young, barely older than a college kid, nervous eyes flicking from Maddox to Elias. The older officer approached. What's the situation, Maddox? Suspicious male near the bridge structure, Maddox said, voice tight. Refused to explain what he was doing. Claims he's an engineer. The young officer hesitated. An engineer. That's what he said, Maddox replied sharply. I'm not buying it. Elias forced himself to breathe evenly. I'm not refusing to explain. You're refusing to listen. Watch your tone, Maddox snapped. The young officer stepped closer to Elias. Sir, do you have any tools, equipment, or anything else on you? Just my truck and my work bag, Elias said. And my ID, which your partner dismissed. Let me see it, the young officer said gently. Maddox barked. No. We're not done yet. The young officer froze, shoulders tensing. Elias saw it. The split-second conflict in the rookie's eyes. The instinct to treat him like a human being crushed by the weight of senior authority. Maddox circled Elias like he was inspecting damage. Pop the truck, he said. We're searching it. Elias stiffened. You can't just. I can and I will, Maddox said. Unless you want to make this harder. The rookie swallowed. Do we have probable cause? Maddox cut him off with a glare. We have a suspicious subject, a high-value structure, and a man giving inconsistent answers. That's cause enough. The rookie went quiet. Elias lifted his hands slightly. Officer Maddox, there's nothing suspicious in my truck. Just blueprints. Tools. Standard equipment. Blueprints, Maddox repeated, smirking. Right. Because you're a genius, right? Built the whole bridge yourself, I'm sure. I never said that, Elias replied, jaw tightening. I said I was part of the team. Yeah. Doing what? Carrying boxes. The words hit harder than Elias expected. They were the same kind of lines he'd heard 100 times. Different voices, same dismissal. Fetch coffee, will you? The projector's broken. Can you fix it? You're early. Custodial shift starts at 6, right? All those memories pressed against his ribs. My role, Elias said carefully, was structural analysis and load distribution. I helped design the tension reinforcement system. Maddox lifted a hand. Stop. I don't need the TED Talk. The older officer looked uncomfortable now, glancing at the river, at the bridge, at Elias. Maybe we should let him speak. Morris, Maddox snapped, step back. I've got this. The older officer stepped back. Elias breathed through his frustration. Let me call my supervisor. He'll confirm everything. Maddox shook his head. Phone stays in my possession until we're finished. You confiscated it without reason. Reason? Maddox's eyebrows shot up. You're loitering around a major structure at dusk. That's all the reason I need. I wasn't loitering, Elias said. I was checking. Your story keeps changing, Maddox said. It hasn't changed once, Elias replied, voice finally edging toward anger. Maddox's eyes narrowed. Turn around. For what? Turn. Around. Elias did, hands half-raised, body rigid. The rookie officer stepped in, voice soft. Sir, please just do what he asks. Elias sighed. I'm trying. Maddox opened the truck door and began rummaging through the interior. Tools clanked, papers rustled. Elias heard the unmistakable sound of drawers being yanked open, glove compartments emptied, bags dumped. Look at this, Maddox called out. Stacks of papers. Could be plans, could be anything. Elias clenched his jaw. They're clearly engineering schematics. Or printouts from Google, Maddox muttered. The rookie glanced at Elias again. His discomfort was written all over him. Sir, he whispered. This isn't right. Elias swallowed. Then say something. The rookie's eyes darted back to Maddox. I can't. And there it was. The truth of the system distilled into one trembling sentence. Maddox emerged from the truck holding a rolled sheet of blueprint paper. What's this supposed to be? The bridge, Elias said. Page 12 of the structural reinforcement set. Maddox smirked. Convenient. It's literally labeled at the top, Elias said. I'll decide what it is, Maddox snapped. The older officer scratched his jaw. He seems to know what he's talking about, Maddox. Anyone can memorize jargon, Maddox said. Doesn't make it true. Elias' voice cracked slightly. Call the number on the blueprint stamp. The city office will confirm. Enough, Maddox shouted. You don't get to tell me how to do my job. The rookie flinched. Elias felt his chest tighten again. So no matter what I say, you've made up your mind. Maddox stepped close. Too close. My mind is on keeping the city safe. And right now, you're the only thing out of place. Elias stared back silent. The older officer shifted uneasily. Maddox, maybe we should. But Maddox wasn't listening. He moved to the back of the truck, inspecting the toolbox, muttering under his breath. Elias turned slightly toward the rookie. What's your name? The rookie hesitated. Officer Lane. Lane, Elias said, voice low. Does this feel like protocol to you? Lane swallowed hard. I don't know. Elias nodded slowly. You do. Lane looked away, cheeks flushing. Maddox slammed the toolbox shut. Truck's clean, he said reluctantly. Still doesn't mean you're innocent. Innocent of what? Elias asked. Standing near something I built. Maddox's eyes flashed. We'll find out. Doesn't take much for things to go sideways. Elias felt something cold settle in his spine. Is that a threat? It's a fact, Maddox said. And it'd be smart if you remembered it. Elias stared at him, the weight of every unjust moment in his career pressing down. The bridge behind him loomed tall, beautiful, proof of his skill. Yet here he was, treated like he didn't belong within 10 feet of it. Lane shifted again. Officer Maddox, what now? Maddox folded the blueprint, tucking it under his arm like evidence. Now. We keep questioning him until his story stops sounding like a fairy tale. Elias exhaled slowly, eyes burning. A normal evening visit had become a battlefield. And Maddox had no intention of backing down. Elias watched Maddox pace with the rolled blueprint tucked under his arm like a trophy. The officer muttered into his radio, casting glances at Elias as if expecting him to bolt. Elias stayed still, hands loosely raised, jaw locked. The bridge hummed faintly beneath them. He wished he could hear it instead of the rushing blood in his ears. A car approached slowly from the west end of the span, a silver sedan, windows half down. It slowed more, hesitated, then eased toward the shoulder. Elias blinked. He knew that face behind the windshield. Councilwoman Dana Ruiz. She had been at the project's final review meeting. She had shaken his hand. Your load distribution strategy saved us millions, she'd said with a firm nod. Her door opened. Maddox didn't notice, too busy digging through Elias' bag again. Dana stepped out, heels clicking sharply on the pavement. Excuse me, she called, voice cutting through the tension. All 3 officers turned. Maddox's brows shot up. Ma'am, this is a controlled scene. Please return to your vehicle. Dana stared at Elias, recognition widening her eyes. Elias Ward. Elias exhaled shakily. Councilwoman. What on earth is happening? She demanded, marching toward Maddox. Why is he detained? Maddox stepped between them. Ma'am, please maintain distance. The subject is under investigation. Subject? Dana repeated, incredulous. This is one of the lead structural engineers who built this bridge. Lane, the rookie, looked like someone had yanked the ground out from under him. He is. Elias nodded quietly. Maddox scoffed. And I'm supposed to take your word for it. Dana's voice sharpened. You can take the city's records for it. His name is printed on the engineering files. Maddox folded his arms, unimpressed. Well, he didn't provide any proof. I did, Elias said, exhausted. You ignored it. Maddox shot him a glare. You didn't provide valid proof. Dana stepped closer, fury tightening her jaw. Are you seriously claiming he forged a city-issued engineering badge? I'm claiming it looked suspicious, Maddox said. Suspicious to whom? Dana shot back. Maddox's nostrils flared. Ma'am, again, I need you to step back. No, she said, calm but firm. Not until you explain why you've detained a city engineer on the bridge he designed. Maddox stiffened. He was tampering with the railing. Elias looked up sharply. I wasn't. Quiet, Maddox snapped. Dana folded her arms. So taking a few steps along his own project is tampering. He was leaning over. He was inspecting, Dana countered. Because that's what engineers do. The older officer, Morris, cleared his throat. Maddox. Maybe we should verify. We will, Dana interrupted. I'll call Director Cho myself. Maddox's expression twisted. There's no need to involve. Yes, there is. Dana pulled out her phone. Panic flickered behind Maddox's eyes. Who exactly are you? Councilwoman Dana Ruiz, she said coldly. Lane's mouth dropped open. Maddox's jaw tightened. You're interfering with a police investigation. You're detaining a citizen without cause, Dana replied. And I suggest you lower your voice. Maddox's face flushed red. He was acting suspicious. Define suspicious, Dana said. He was touching the railing. He built the railing. He refused instructions. He complied with every instruction, Lane muttered under his breath. Maddox shot him a killing look. Lane stared at the ground. Dana finished dialing. Director Cho. Yes, it's Dana. I'm on the Lexington River Bridge. One of your engineers, Elias Ward, is being detained by an officer who refuses to release him. Elias closed his eyes briefly. A swell of humiliation washed through him. Being validated and being pitted felt painfully similar in moments like this. Dana continued. Yes. Please come immediately. She ended the call and looked straight at Maddox. He'll be here in 15 minutes. Maddox shook his head. This is ridiculous. What's ridiculous, Dana said, is that you escalated a harmless interaction because you made assumptions. I don't make assumptions, Maddox snapped. Elias couldn't help it. He let out a tired, disbelieving laugh. Maddox turned on him. Something funny. No, Elias said. Just familiar. Maddox stepped closer, voice low. You better watch it. Lane shifted uncomfortably. Officer Maddox, maybe we should. Lane, Maddox barked. Not another word. Lane shut down again, shoulders curling inward. Dana approached Elias gently. Are you all right? I'm managing, he said, voice cracking slightly. I'm sorry this happened, she whispered. Maddox interjected loudly. Lady, you're crossing the line. Dana snapped back. Stop calling me lady. I outrank you in every civic capacity. A small group of people had gathered now. Drivers pulled over, pedestrians stopping, phones raised. The recording lights blinked like red eyes in the dusk. Maddox noticed them and stiffened. Everyone needs to step back. No filming. Many ignored him. Elias felt the bitterness twist deeper. You could build a bridge that held 100,000 vehicles a day, but one officer's suspicion could still tear your dignity apart in minutes. Dana turned toward the growing crowd. This man is a city employee. One of our best. One of the onlookers asked. Then why's he being cuffed for walking? Maddox snapped. Nobody said anything about cuffs. Then why does your hand keep going to them? Another bystander called out. Maddox cursed under his breath. Elias felt a wave of nausea. He hated this visibility, this spectacle, almost as much as the harassment itself. His humiliation was becoming a show. A trending clip. This wasn't justice. This was exposure without control. Dana stood firmly beside him. Elias, Director Cho will set this straight. Elias nodded, but his eyes stayed on Maddox. The officer wasn't backing down. If anything, the arrival of witnesses made his posture harder, more rigid. The rookie, Lane, stepped slightly closer to Elias, voice low. Sir. Sorry. I didn't think it would go this far. Elias looked at him. Then stop it. Lane's eyes flicked to Maddox. I can't. I'm not allowed to contradict him. That's how the system stays the system, Elias said softly. Lane swallowed but didn't argue. Sirens approached from the east. Maddox rolled his shoulders, bracing. Good. The city big shot wants to jump into my scene. Let him. Elias didn't say anything. He couldn't trust his voice. The silver sedan's headlights reflected on the steel beams above them, casting long shadows across the pavement. Maddox stood tall, defiant. Dana folded her arms. Elias stood still, breathing slowly, as the new sirens grew louder, heralding the arrival of the one man who could expose Maddox's lie. Director Raymond Cho arrived with a pace that was 2 steps short of a sprint. His sedan screeched into the shoulder behind Dana's car. He slammed his door, straightened his tie once, and marched forward with a folder tucked under his arm. Maddox muttered, "Oh, perfect." Cho didn't look at the officer first. His eyes went straight to Elias, sitting on the curb again because Maddox had ordered him to stay low. Cho's face shifted instantly from confusion to disbelief to a controlled, simmering anger. "Elias," he said, voice low. "Are you hurt?" "No," Elias answered. "Just detained." "Detained," Cho repeated, jaw hard. "For what?" "Ask him," Elias whispered. Maddox squared up. "Director Cho, this is an active investigation. Please step back." Cho turned to him sharply. "An investigation into what?" "One of my structural engineers standing near the bridge he helped construct." Maddox lifted his chin. He was acting suspicious. Suspicious how? Maddox folded his arms, leaning over the railing, touching the expansion joints, moving around like he was trying to access a support point. Cho stared, speechless for a moment. Then he let out a short laugh of disbelief. "That's literally his job." "Not after hours," Maddox barked. Cho's smile vanished. "So your solution was to humiliate him? Search his truck? Confiscate his phone?" Maddox's eyes narrowed. "Director, with all due respect, you're interfering with police work. And you," Cho snapped, "are abusing authority you clearly don't understand." Dana stepped in. "I told you he wouldn't listen." Cho nodded grimly. "Noted." The older officer, Morris, approached cautiously. "Sir, we didn't know he was." Cho cut him off. "You could have asked. Or verified the badge." He raised the folder. "Every engineer in this city has a profile. With photos. With signatures. With credentials. It takes 60 seconds to check." Lane, the rookie, murmured, "We weren't allowed to run it." Cho's eyes slid to Maddox. "Why not?" "No need," Maddox said. "The badge looked off." "Off," Cho repeated. "Officer, the badge is city-issued. Laminated. Serial stamped. Could be fake," Maddox muttered. Cho's voice sharpened. "Are all city employees suspicious to you? Or just this one?" A ripple of tension ran through the crowd behind them. Phones angled higher. Maddox bristled. "Are you accusing me of something?" "I'm highlighting a pattern," Cho replied. "Your conduct reeks of bias." Maddox stepped close. "You better watch your words." Dana moved forward immediately. "Back up, officer. Now." For a moment Maddox hesitated, but he stepped back. Cho opened the folder and pulled out a sheet of paper. He held it up clearly, deliberately. "See this," he said. "It's the signed engineering review. With Elias Ward's name, photo, and license number. He is the lead structural engineer who finalized this bridge's load rating." Maddox's face flushed. "Anyone can make paperwork." Cho didn't flinch. "This isn't printable. It's a city-sealed original." Maddox's bravado faltered for the first time. Cho turned to Elias. "Stand up, please." Elias rose slowly, the humiliation washing through him again, cold and heavy. Cho placed a steady hand on his shoulder, a small gesture but grounding. "I'm deeply sorry," Cho said softly. "Not your fault," Elias murmured, though his chest felt tight. Dana stepped closer too. We'll report this, Elias. You won't be alone in this. Elias nodded faintly. But Maddox wasn't done. So what? Maddox barked. He's a big-shot engineer. Doesn't mean he can wander around after hours. Doesn't mean I did anything wrong. Cho spun on him. You detained a city worker without cause. He refused instructions. Maddox insisted. Lane blurted. He didn't. Maddox snapped. Lane. But Cho turned to the rookie. Speak. Lane froze for a moment, then swallowed and said. He answered all the questions. He offered ID. He complied. Officer Maddox just didn't believe him. A hush fell over the crowd. Morris shifted uneasily. Ray, we didn't know. Cho raised a hand. I'm not blaming you, Morris. I'm blaming the one who escalated. Maddox glared at Lane. I'll deal with you later. No, Dana said sharply. You won't. Maddox scoffed. You all think you can gang up on me. This isn't a gang up, Cho said. This is accountability. Maddox stepped closer, jabbing a finger toward Elias. He was lurking around the bridge. He acted nervous. That's enough reason to question him. Elias finally snapped, voice trembling with frustration. I acted nervous because you treated me like I was a threat from the moment you saw me. Maddox's jaw twitched. I treat everyone the same. Dana scoffed. You do not. Elias took a shaky breath. I told you who I was. I told you what I was doing. And you still made me feel like I didn't belong near something I built with my own hands. Maddox sneered. Cry me a river. Cho stepped directly between them. That's enough. Officer Maddox, release him. Now. Maddox's nostrils flared. He's not in cuffs. You had him sitting on the curb like a suspect, Cho said. Release him from your custody. Maddox said nothing. Dana stepped to Elias' side. Director Cho gave you an instruction. Maddox muttered. Fine. He can go. Elias felt a wave of relief. And then a sharp, unexpected sting of anger. Can he go? He asked quietly. Or are you done harassing him? Maddox glared at him but didn't answer. Cho turned to the crowd. We're finished here. Thank you for recording. Maddox snapped. No one had permission. Dana interrupted. They don't need your permission. Phones lowered slowly. People drifted back to their cars. Maddox spoke again, voice low, dangerous. Director Cho. You're making a mistake. No, Cho said. You did. Maddox reached for his radio. Dispatch. Officer returning to patrol. Terminating contact. His voice was clipped, furious, humiliated. The rookie looked at Elias with guilt. I'm sorry, sir. Elias nodded. Thank you for speaking. Lane winced. I wish I'd spoken earlier. So do I, Elias whispered. Maddox turned away, stalking toward his cruiser. Cho placed a hand on Elias' shoulder. We're taking this further. I'll file a formal report myself. Dana added. And I'll be backing it with the council. Elias stared down at his trembling hands. Thank you. Both of you. The wind off the river swept over the bridge again, cool against his skin. The blueprint Maddox had stolen lay crumpled near the curb. Cho bent down, picked it up, and handed it to Elias like returning something sacred. Your name, Cho said quietly, is on every page. Elias swallowed hard, voice barely above a whisper. And still, it wasn't enough. Elias stood in the fluorescent-lit waiting area of Internal Affairs, fingers interlocked so tightly his knuckles whitened. The room smelled faintly of stale coffee and old carpet. A poster on the wall promised integrity, accountability, transparency. Felt like a cruel joke. A receptionist called his name. Mr. Ward. They're ready for you. He followed her down a narrow hallway into a small interview room with 2 metal chairs and a table bolted to the floor. 2 IA investigators waited, one middle-aged, stern-looking, the other younger, expression unreadable. "Mr. Ward," the stern one said, "please sit." Elias sat carefully. His stomach twisted. "We're here to take your statement about Officer Trent Maddox," the younger investigator said. "Start from the beginning." Elias inhaled. "I was on the Lexington River Bridge. After hours, yes, but not illegally. I work." "We're aware of your role," the stern investigator cut in. "Just focus on the events." Elias blinked. "Right. I stepped out of my truck to check the expansion joints. Personal reasons. Reflection." He paused. Officer Maddox approached. "Aggressively." "What do you mean by aggressively?" the stern one asked. "He ordered me away from the railing. Refused explanation. Treated me like a suspect immediately." The younger investigator scribbled notes. "Did you raise your voice at any point?" Elias stared at him. "No. I tried to keep calm." "Did you comply with instructions?" "Yes," Elias said, heat rising in his chest. "Every single one." The stern investigator tapped a pen. "Mr. Ward, we need precise clarity. The officer states you were evasive, nervous, and refused to identify yourself." Elias felt his breath hitch. "That's not true. Officer Maddox also claims you reached into your pocket abruptly, causing concern." Elias shook his head. "He told me to take out my ID slowly. I did." "His hand went to his holster anyway," the younger investigator asked. "Did you make any sudden movements?" "No." Elias swallowed hard. "I was terrified of moving too fast." Silence settled heavily. The investigators exchanged a glance. "Mr. Ward," the stern one said, "we're not here to challenge your character. But we do need to verify inconsistencies." "Inconsistencies?" Elias repeated, stunned. "The incident was recorded. People filmed the entire thing. We have limited access to civilian recordings until we submit formal requests," the younger investigator said. "For now, we rely on statements. And Officer Maddox's statement carries more weight." Elias asked quietly. The room froze. The stern investigator cleared his throat. "We didn't say that." "You didn't have to," Elias replied. The younger investigator shifted uncomfortably. "Let's continue. Did Officer Maddox physically touch you?" "No. But he ordered me to sit on the curb. Treated me like a criminal. Searched my truck without cause. Took my phone." "You claim he confiscated your phone," the stern investigator said. "I don't claim it," Elias said sharply. "He did." The younger investigator scribbled something quickly. Minutes passed. Slow, draining, repetitive questions. Requests to rephrase, re-explain, clarify timelines he'd already outlined. By the end, his throat felt scraped raw. "Thank you, Mr. Ward," the stern investigator said finally. "We'll contact you with next steps." "That's it?" Elias asked. "For now." He stepped out of the room feeling wrung out, humiliated all over again. In the hallway, Dana Ruiz and Director Cho waited on a bench. Dana stood immediately. "How did it go?" Elias rubbed his face. "They questioned me more than they questioned him, I'm sure." Cho frowned. "They're required to push hard on both sides." Elias shook his head. "There's pushing and then there's doubting." Dana's expression softened. "I'm sorry." "It's fine," Elias murmured, though nothing about it felt fine. "What now?" Cho handed him a printout. "IA scheduled a hearing for next week. You'll testify. Maddox will too." Elias took the paper. His hand shook. Dana placed a hand on his arm. "We'll be there." He nodded, grateful but exhausted. That night, Elias lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Sleep refused to come. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the flashlight in his face, the officer's hand on his holster, the disbelief in the investigator's eyes. His phone buzzed. A news headline lit up the screen. Witness video. Officer detains engineer on newly built city bridge. He clicked it. The clip was short, angled from far away. but clear enough to show Maddox towering over Elias, barking orders. The comments scrolled fast. Looks like another case of profiling. Why was the guy on the bridge after hours though? Cop doing his job. Engineer. Sure he is. This is why nothing ever changes. Elias closed the app. A soft knock sounded on his bedroom door. His mother stepped inside quietly, wearing her old cotton robe. "You're still awake," she whispered. Elias sat up. "Can't sleep." She sat beside him. "Of course you can't. What they did to you. Any man would feel shaken." "I'm tired, Mom." His voice cracked. "Just tired of always having to prove I'm harmless. Prove I belong. Prove I'm telling the truth." She took his hand. "You come from generations who survived worse with less voice than you have now. What they endured, what they built. You are their continuation." "I don't want to be strong all the time," Elias said. "I just want to live." She squeezed his hand. "Strength isn't a choice. It's something we carry because the world demands it. But you're not alone. Not this time." He swallowed hard. "I hope the hearing means something." "It will," she said gently. "'Cause this time people saw. And because you're standing up, even shaken." Elias exhaled. The room felt a little steadier. But beneath everything, one question haunted him. Would the system protect him this time? Or protect the man who threatened him? The Internal Affairs hearing room felt colder than Elias expected. Sterile, echoing, too wide for the small desk where he sat. Councilwoman Dana Ruiz and Director Cho were behind him, quiet pillars of support. His palms were damp, his throat dry. On the opposite side of the room sat Officer Maddox, arms crossed, eyes fixed straight ahead. His uniform was crisp, posture rigid, jaw clenched like stone. Beside him, his union representative leaned in occasionally, whispering instructions. A woman from IA cleared her throat. "We are beginning the disciplinary hearing for Officer Trent Maddox regarding the incident on the Lexington River Bridge." Elias's stomach twisted. "Mr. Ward," the chairperson said, "you will recount the event in full. Afterward, Officer Maddox will give his statement." Elias nodded and stood. His voice trembled at first, but steadied as he described the encounter. How Maddox approached, dismissed his explanations, searched the truck, took the phone, treated him as a threat for existing near his own project. He described the humiliation of sitting on the curb. The flashlight. The insinuations. The fear. Dana watched Maddox's reactions carefully. Maddox kept a blank stare, though his fingers occasionally twitched. When Elias finished, one IA board member asked, "Did you ever raise your voice?" "No." "Did you ever refuse instructions?" "No." "Did you make any sudden movement toward the officer?" "No." Elias inhaled slowly. "I was careful with every movement." The chairperson nodded. "Thank you. Please remain seated." Maddox rose as if preparing for battle. He placed both hands on the table. "I approached the subject because he was acting suspicious, leaning over the railing, looking under the structure, moving erratically." "That's not true," Elias said before he could stop himself. The chairperson raised a hand. "Mr. Ward, no interruptions." Maddox continued. "When I requested identification, he hesitated." "I didn't," Elias muttered. Maddox added. "He became defensive, evasive. His answers didn't match his behavior." Director Cho scoffed under his breath. The chairperson turned. "Director Cho, please refrain." Cho nodded stiffly. Maddox pressed on. "I believed the subject could be attempting to damage city property or gather sensitive information." Elias stared at him in disbelief. A board member asked, "Did you verify his ID?" "It looked fake," Maddox replied confidently. "And he refused to provide proper documentation." "I provided everything," Elias snapped. The board motioned for him to settle. Maddox leaned forward. "I followed procedure. I acted out of caution. For the safety of the city. And the search of his vehicle. a board member asked. Maddox stiffened. Based on his suspicious behavior, I had probable cause. Cho whispered sharply behind Elias. Unbelievable. The chairperson took a slow breath. Officer Maddox, please explain what specific actions gave you probable cause. He looked nervous. Elias looked up sharply. You created the fear. Mr. Ward, the chairperson warned again. Maddox continued, undeterred. He also reached into his pocket aggressively. That is not reflected in any witness statements, a board member said. That's because witnesses don't understand police procedure, Maddox snapped. Dana sat forward. Or because it didn't happen. Maddox glared at her. Stay out of this. The chairperson slammed a gavel softly. Officer Maddox. Maddox breathed through his nose, trying to contain himself. Next, the chairperson said, we'll review the civilian footage. The screen lit up. The video played. There was Maddox, towering, confrontational, barking orders. There was Elias, calm, hands raised, explaining again and again. There was the moment Maddox ordered him onto the curb. The moment he searched the truck without asking. The moment he refused Elias' ID. The room was silent. When the video ended, Maddox's representative leaned in urgently, whispering fast. Maddox clenched his jaw. Videos don't show context. Videos show enough, Dana muttered. A board member addressed Maddox. Officer, the footage contradicts several parts of your statement. Maddox's voice sharpened. Videos don't capture tone, threat levels, instincts. Instincts, the chairperson repeated quietly. Lane, the rookie officer, sat in the back row, pale and trembling. The chairperson called him forward. Officer Lane, she said, do you have a statement? Lane looked terrified. His eyes darted to Maddox, then to the board. He swallowed hard. Yes. Proceed. Lane exhaled shakily. Mr. Ward complied with everything. He didn't refuse instructions. He didn't act aggressive. He didn't hide anything. Maddox's eyes turned to ice. Lane forced himself to continue. Officer Maddox ordered us not to verify the badge. He said. Lane hesitated. He said we should find something before letting him go. The room sucked in a breath. Maddox slammed his palm on the table. You liar! The gavel struck. Officer Maddox, sit down. Lane shook. I'm not lying. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. Maddox lunged to stand again, but his representative grabbed his arm. The chairperson addressed him coldly. Officer Maddox, your behavior today is deeply concerning. Maddox's face was red, furious. This is a damn setup. You're all against me. No, the chairperson said quietly. We're reviewing your conduct. You're showing us who you are. Silence filled the room. After a long pause, the chairperson spoke again. This hearing will go into deliberation. Expect results within several days. Elias felt the floor tilt beneath him. Several days meant uncertainty. Sleep would be impossible again. Dana leaned in. It's going in your favor. You saw his reaction. Elias nodded, but it didn't ease the anxiety in his chest. Cho placed a hand on his shoulder. You showed restraint. You told the truth. That matters. But as Elias stood and gathered his things, Maddox stared him down with a look that said, this isn't over. Elias walked out of the room feeling like justice was possible, but far from guaranteed. The days after the hearing felt like walking through fog. Thick, heavy, disorienting. Elias worked from home, avoiding the office, avoiding the bridge, avoiding anything that reminded him of Maddox's voice barking commands across steel and concrete. But the city did not stay quiet. It never does when truth begins to leak. At first, it was just one article. Engineer detained without cause, IA hearing raises questions. Then another. Witness footage sparks debate over racial profiling incident. And then a third, bigger, louder. Officer Maddox faces scrutiny after new complaints emerge. Elias stared at that headline on his laptop late one evening, heart thudding. Maddox's image appeared beside the text, smirking in one shot, scowling in another, always wearing the same proud uniform. His mother entered quietly. More news. Yeah. He pushed the laptop away. Apparently this isn't his first complaint. She sat beside him. Bad men don't turn bad overnight. I don't want to celebrate it, Elias whispered. It doesn't make anything better. No, she said gently. But it explains a lot. He rubbed his temples. Feels like everything's spiraling. His mother squeezed his shoulder. Sometimes things need to crack before they can be rebuilt. 2 days later, as Elias walked to his car in the parking garage under his apartment building, footsteps echoed behind him. Heavy, purposeful. He froze. Ward. His name sharp as a snapped cable. Elias turned slowly. Officer Maddox stepped out from behind a concrete pillar. No uniform this time. Just a dark jacket, jeans, and a scowl that held weeks of humiliation. Elias' pulse quickened. What are you doing here? Maddox approached with slow, deliberate steps. Thought we should talk. We don't have anything to talk about, Elias said, trying to keep his voice steady. Maddox smirked. Sure we do. You made a mess out of nothing. And now my career's on the line. You did that to yourself, Elias replied quietly. Maddox's jaw tightened. You think you won. Think the department cares about you. Elias didn't answer. Maddox leaned in slightly. I've been on the force 12 years. I've dealt with punks who cried wolf 100 times. But you're different. You sit there, quiet, smug, letting everyone else fight your battles. I'm not fighting battles, Elias said. I'm defending myself. No, Maddox hissed. You're tearing down a good officer because you got your feelings hurt. Elias felt heat rising in his chest. You treated me like a criminal for standing near a bridge I built. A bridge? Maddox scoffed. I don't care if you built the whole damn city. Elias stepped back. Get out of my way. Maddox blocked him. Or what? Elias stiffened. If you're trying to intimidate me, it won't work. Oh, it's working. Maddox's grin was cold. You're shaking. Elias realized he was. A small tremor in his hands. Maddox leaned closer. You think IA's gonna save you? The board doesn't like complaints. Makes them look weak. They saw the footage, Elias said. They saw everything. Maddox shrugged. Footage is subjective. Angles. Audio. They'll find a way to twist it. And when I'm cleared. He tapped Elias hard on the chest. I'll remember you. Elias stepped back instantly. Don't touch me. Maddox smirked. Or what? You'll file another complaint. Car drove by, headlights flashing across the concrete. Maddox stepped away before the driver could see them. He pointed a finger at Elias. You messed with the wrong person. Elias felt his voice crack. I'm not afraid of you. Liar, Maddox muttered, turning away. See you at the ruling. He vanished into the shadows like a threat half delivered. Elias stood frozen in place for several seconds before he could breathe again. The next morning his phone buzzed nonstop. Voicemails, emails, messages from colleagues. Dana Ruiz called. Elias, are you seeing this? Seeing what? 3 new people filed complaints against Maddox. Independently. Civilian reports from months ago. And someone leaked internal performance logs. It's all over the news. Elias pulled up the latest headline. Pattern of misconduct. Officer Maddox under investigation for multiple incidents. He swallowed. He confronted me last night. What? Dana's voice sharpened. Where? In my parking garage. Did he threaten you? Not directly, Elias lied. He'll remember you. It was a threat. Dana exhaled heavily. Elias, this strengthens the case. Can't ignore a pattern. Even the mayor issued a statement calling for transparency. The mayor? Elias asked, stunned. Yes. This is bigger than just your case now. Elias stared at the bridge photo in the news article. His bridge. The structure he had poured his skill and soul into. It now sat at the center of a city-wide conversation about racism, abuse of power and accountability. And somehow, he was simultaneously the victim, the symbol, and the target. I didn't want all this, Elias whispered. I know, Dana said softly. But sometimes change chooses you. Not the other way around. That evening, Elias finally drove to the river. He parked far from the bridge, unsure whether he could face it. But his feet moved anyway, carrying him closer until the structure rose above him. Steel bones, concrete spine, lit by warm orange lights. He touched the railing gently. The same railing Maddox accused him of tampering with. For a moment, the memory of that flashlight burned behind his eyes. But then he exhaled. This is mine, he whispered. A couple walked past, talking softly. They glanced at him but kept moving. No suspicion, no fear. Just people crossing a bridge. Elias leaned on the railing, letting the hum of traffic mix with the river's whisper. He still felt shaken. Still exhausted. Still unsure of the hearing's outcome. But for the first time in days he felt grounded. The bridge held him, steady, unwavering. And he realized something. He wasn't fighting Maddox. He was fighting the foundation Maddox stood on. And cracks were finally showing. The Internal Affairs building was unusually crowded the morning the ruling was released. Reporters gathered outside, their cameras angled toward the entrance. Civilians lingered nearby, some holding accountability now signs, others simply watching, waiting. Elias stood near the back of the crowd beside Dana Ruiz and Director Cho. His stomach twisted with every passing minute. He had barely slept. Not since Maddox's threat. Not since the string of new complaints surfaced. Not since the mayor's statement demanding transparency. A woman stepped out from the glass doors. We'll begin in 5 minutes, she called. Dana touched Elias's arm. Whatever happens in there, you spoke the truth. That matters. Cho nodded. And you showed more restraint than anyone should have to. Elias swallowed. I just hope the truth is enough. Inside the hearing room, the IA board sat at the long table. Maddox stood near his representative, face pale but defiant. His uniform was sharply pressed, but something about him looked unsteady, like a structure with too much weight on one side. The chairperson cleared her throat. This board has reviewed statements, testimony, civilian recordings, and additional complaints regarding Officer Trent Maddox. We have reached a decision. Elias held his breath. Officer Maddox, she continued, the evidence shows a clear pattern of misconduct, including discriminatory behavior, unwarranted escalation, and abuse of authority. Maddox's jaw flexed hard. Furthermore, the chairperson said, your behavior during the hearing was disrespectful, combative, and unprofessional. The board finds you in violation of multiple department policies. The room seemed to shrink. Therefore, effective immediately, Officer Trent Maddox is hereby terminated from the police department. A collective gasp rippled across the room. Maddox's face drained of color. You can't do this, he snapped. It is done, the chairperson replied. You're ruining my career over some engineer with hurt feelings. Maddox barked. You're all insane. A board member stood. Officer Maddox. Ex-officer. Someone murmured. Maddox spun toward Elias, eyes burning. This is your fault. Elias didn't flinch. No. This is the result of your choices. Maddox lunged a step forward, but his representative grabbed his arm. Trent, stop. I won't stop. Maddox roared. This is a damn witch hunt. A dozen phones rose instantly, recording his meltdown. Officer Maddox, the chairperson said firmly, you are to leave the premises immediately. I'm not done, Maddox shouted. But security approached and finally, Maddox backed down, shaking with fury, chest rising and falling like a storm. He pointed a trembling finger at Elias. "You'll regret this." "No," Elias said softly. "You will regret what you did." Maddox's expression cracked, anger, shame, disbelief, before he turned and stormed out of the building. The door slammed behind him. Silence settled over the room, heavy and strangely peaceful. The chairperson looked at Elias. "Mr. Ward, we extend our apologies for the harm done to you." Elias nodded faintly. "Thank you." Dana squeezed his shoulder. "It's over." Elias wasn't sure, but it felt like the beginning of something new. Outside, the press surged. "Mr. Ward, do you feel vindicated? Do you plan to sue? What do you hope happens next? Will you speak publicly today?" Elias blinked against the camera flashes. Dana raised a hand. "Give him space. We'll speak at the council forum tonight." A reporter called. "Will you be attending, Mr. Ward?" Elias took a slow breath. "Yes." Hours later, the council chamber filled with citizens, students, engineers, activists, even other police officers. A low buzz echoed through the crowd. Elias stood behind the podium, hands trembling slightly as he adjusted the microphone. Dana introduced him. "Tonight, Elias Ward, lead structural engineer of the Lexington River Bridge, will speak about his experience." Applause rose. Elias felt heat bloom beneath his skin, not pride but something heavier. Responsibility. He looked out at the faces watching him. "I don't want to make a speech about victory," he began quietly, "because this doesn't feel like one." The room stilled. "I'm grateful Officer Maddox was held accountable," Elias continued. "But I need you to understand something. What happened to me wasn't an isolated moment. It was a pattern. A pattern many people like me face every day." He paused. "When Officer Maddox saw me on the bridge, his first instinct was suspicion. Not because of anything I did, but because of who I am." A murmur rippled through the crowd. "I want to be clear. This isn't about destroying one man's career. This is about rebuilding a city's conscience." Elias swallowed. "We can't fix a foundation if we pretend the cracks don't exist." He looked down at his hands, the same hands Maddox ordered onto the curb, the same hands that built the bridge. "I built that bridge to connect communities, to support weight, to hold strong even in storms. I want our systems to be the same. Strong, fair. Structural soundness shouldn't end with concrete." Silence. Then slowly applause. Soft at first, then louder, then rising into something almost thunderous. Elias stepped back, overwhelmed. That evening, after the forum ended and the last conversations faded into the cool night, Elias found himself again walking toward the Lexington River Bridge. He didn't plan to, but his feet seemed to know the way. The bridge shimmered under the amber streetlights. The river beneath whispered softly, as if greeting him. He approached the railing, the same spot where everything began. He placed his palm against the steel. It felt exactly how it always had. Cool, steady, humming with the weight it was built to carry. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he whispered, "I'm still here." The wind carried his words across the water. Elias let out a slow breath. Not triumph, not relief, but a quiet acceptance of everything he had endured. Behind him the city glowed. Ahead of him the bridge stretched forward, solid, unwavering. He traced the metal one last time and turned toward home. And for the first time since that night, the weight on his chest felt just a little lighter.